Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers have been on an absolute tear to end the NBA season. At the time of recording this video, they are currently on an 8-game winning streak and are sitting third in the Western Conference standings. Most of this win streak has come from the simply insane play of Damian Lillard, who is on track for his greatest season yet and to potentially become the greatest Portland Trailblazer ever. This video will cover the run of the Blazers, what makes Damian tick as a player, Portland's playoff chances, and then take a look at the question of who is the greatest Blazer ever and can Damian Lillard overtake them. The winning streak of Portland really began after they had 3 consecutive losses in February to Boston, Toronto, and Detroit. After the string of losses, they found themselves with a record of 29-25 and outside of the playoff picture looking back in. I know I felt that the team probably wouldn't be able to burst back into the playoffs as they had 2 smallish guards and lacked a strong presence at small and power forward. The team relied heavily on the skills of CJ and Damian, and whilst they are really good, I wondered if maybe the Nuggets, Jazz, Clippers and Pelicans would keep them out of the playoff picture. But I completely forgot that Lillard is the type of player who fires up after the All-Star break and tends to close the season as hot as anyone in the league. And in the 11 games since the 3-game losing streak, Dame has dropped 33.8 points and 5.5 assists a game while shooting 41% from 3 and making 4 threes a game. He is simply hotter than the sun, and absolutely nobody can guard him right now. Plus, he's scoring a lot of his points in the clutch. Against the Lakers, he hit 4 consecutive threes to gain the lead, and some of them were absolutely ridiculous shots. Then, against New York, he continued his hot streak and created a huge lead. And then every time the Knicks would creep back, it appeared as though Dame just buried 2 threes and walked off the court. Not only are these points coming in the clutch, some of these performances are simply flat out ridiculous. Against the Sacramento Kings, he dropped 50 points in 29 minutes and easily could have had 60 or even 70 points if he played his normal level of minutes. Then, against the Warriors, he had 44 points, 8 assists and 2 steals as the Blazers managed to upset one of the best teams in the league. If you haven't got the picture yet, Dame is playing an absurd level of basketball, one that would have him in contention for MVP if he maintained throughout a whole season. And I think it will launch him into top 5 of the MVP voting this year, alongside LeBron, Harden, Anthony Davis, and Giannis. Now, he definitely won't win the MVP, as I think only Harden and Davis have a chance to win it this year, and Harden is a 90% lock in my mind. But getting a top 5 MVP voting to your name is a huge accomplishment. It means you dominated the year and helped your team immensely. I always think back to Joakim Noah finishing top 3 in the MVP voting when he led the Chicago Bulls on both ends while Derrick Rose was injured. Noah may be a shell of himself now, but when his career is said and done, people will look back on that season and remember what an amazing player he was. And this is Dame's season, his best season so far, and the top 5 MVP voting will immortalise how dominant he has been offensively this year. And as the season goes on, it is looking more and more likely that they'll make the playoffs. The only thing stopping them will be their schedule, because it is tough. By the time this video drops, they will have played Golden State, and are due to play Houston and the Clippers twice, as well as Boston, Miami, Utah, San Antonio, Denver, and Cleveland. They only have 3 games against tanking teams when they play Memphis twice and Dallas once. This is a really hard schedule. They will likely have to win about 11 of these games, and this means going 8-6 against tough teams that are also chasing the playoffs and not losing to Memphis or Dallas. But not all of these teams have a Damian Lillard, and apart from the Rockets, none of them are super consistent or unstoppable. Most of this will rest on CJ and Dame, with a little bit of pressure on Nurkic to exploit some of the teams who don't have elite big men that contain him. But I have full faith that Lillard is one of those players that can carry a team into the playoffs. Dame is one of the best sharpshooters in the league, and his ability to pull up from range places him into a rare category of guard that you have to check at every point on the court. Steph Curry, James Harden, Kemba Walker, and Kyrie Irving are probably the only other 4 guards in the league that are as good or come as close to Dame's ability to pull up for a 3 off a screen. It is one of his pet plays and something that the Blazers run a lot of. They will set Dame a screen and have him go around it, looking to pull up if the big man sags off him too much. And if the big man does come up, they will immediately switch the screen and have Dame run around another screen looking for the same 3. This double screening play is straight out of a lot of European clubs' playbooks, but teams in the NBA are leveraging it more and more to create space for the 3-point shot. And when Nurkic sets a second screen, it forces the big man to hedge out twice. And a lot of the time they are too slow and can't get to Lillard to cover him. And when they don't, it's over. Video game Dame has just been automatic on these shots of late. and every single time he pulls up, it feels like it is going in. Teams have taken notice of this, and the defensive coverage has adapted to apply even more pressure and double team or trap Lillard off these pick and rolls. This is what teams have been doing to Steph Curry for the last 3 seasons, and he has become amazing at passing out of the trap to his rolling big or swinging it around the perimeter for an open 3. Damian is also beginning to adapt to these, and Nurkic is a great big man to pass the ball to off these traps. He can catch the ball and finish in a variety of ways in the paint, or can pass to the corners when the defense rotates off to cover him in the paint. Lillard has also perfected the art of hesitating like he's going to pull up, draw the big man out to him, and then accelerate to blow by him. This is incredibly effective when pulled off correctly, as it puts Damian past 2 defenders who are meant to be guarding him, meaning a third will have to slide over to cover the paint. This warps the defense to an extreme level and almost guarantees that there'll be an open man to hit or a wide open lane to the hoop. Like so many other star guards in the NBA at the moment, Lillard's game relies on the pick and roll to create a lot of space for himself and for his team. But this isn't a bad thing. The pick and roll is such an intricate and varied play that creates so many options and forces defenses to constantly think and rotate. But the Blazers have also been running Lillard off-ball with off-ball screens and curl plays to separate his defender from him before he catches the ball. In these situations, Lillard is lethal. He is such a good shooter that when he has even an inch of separation, he can rise up and drain the jump shot from anywhere on the court. And in isolation, Dame has become incredible at breaking defenders down with a series of crossovers and hesitations before rising up or blowing by them to get to the rim. At 27 years old, Dame is at the peak of his athleticism, and his skills have had the time to develop to an elite level. This crossover of athletic peak and skill is what leads to most NBA players having their best years in this age bracket. Point guards might become even more skilled as they hit their mid-30s, but the athleticism has declined a little and the skill raise doesn't make up for it. In his peak, Dame is also making an effort to be a better effort defender. He's always struggled a little bit on this end and will never be an elite defensive guard. But I've noticed him putting in a lot more effort on this end and trying to always be in the right place, making the right hedge, or sprinting out to recover on players. This is exactly what the Blazers will need for the rest of the season from all of their players. Maximum effort on both ends of the court in a desperate attempt to win 11 of their last 17 games and likely make it to the playoffs. So Damian is dominating for the Blazers and has done so now for 6 seasons, making 3 All-Star games, being Rookie of the Year, and making 2 All-NBA teams. It should also be noted that Damian was absolutely robbed of 2 more All-Star games. In 2016, he ended up making the All-NBA second team and was left out of the All-Star game. This means that he was considered in the top 4 guards in the entire league at the end of the season, but couldn't get a gig in the All-Star game, which includes 10 to 12 guards every year. He will likely continue to rack up All-Star appearances for the Blazers and could lead them to deep playoff runs. But will it be enough for him to overtake the greatest Blazer ever, Clyde the Glide Drexler? Drexler played in 11.5 seasons for the Blazers, made 8 All-Star games, and scored a total of 18,040 points for the franchise. He was a dominant shooting guard in a tough era of basketball. But his best achievement for the Portland Trailblazers was leading them to the NBA Finals in 1990 and 1992. Sure, he would lose in 5 games to the Pistons and in 6 games to Michael Jordan and the Bulls, but simply making the NBA Finals is an amazing achievement and one not to be overlooked. Damian trails Clyde by 5 All-Star games, but let's make it 3 as he was robbed twice and trails him by only 7,600 points for the leading scorer of the Blazers. He is on pace to overcome Clyde for scoring in 4 more seasons, and if he maintained his average, he would likely be an All-Star in all of these seasons as well, meaning that he would have more points and more All-Star level seasons than Clyde did in Portland. There is only one thing really stopping him from achieving this: his contract. Damian has 3 more years after this one on his current deal before it expires and will then be an unrestricted free agent. He said all the right things about wanting to be the greatest Blazer ever, but it can be tough to know if this is all talk or if he really means it. When players come to free agency, things often change, and it is always a possibility that they leave. But I think Dame truly does love this city and team, and if I had to bet on it, I'd bet he stays. So the only thing stopping him from being better than Clyde as a Blazer would be playoff success. Damian would need to lead the Blazers on multiple deep playoff runs, playing at a high level to replace the significance of Drexler's achievements. Regular season wins and stats are great, but playoffs are where legends are made. The whole fan base of the NBA is watching, and it can solidify your position in league history. Damian already has one huge success in the playoffs, when Portland upset the Rockets behind Aldridge and Lillard's strong play. In Game 6 of this series, Lillard hit an incredible series-winning jump shot that sealed the game and series for the Rockets. But his only other series win came against an incredibly depleted Los Angeles Clippers team and won't be remembered as a magic moment. If the Blazers do make the playoffs this season, it will present a chance for Lillard to continue his amazing play and take it to the playoffs. If he plays like he has in the last month, there is a good chance they could beat most teams not named Golden State or Houston, and Lillard could continue to build his playoff legacy. This is the beauty of covering and watching the NBA. Seeing these players develop, watching their storylines and careers unfold right before your eyes. In 10 years, we will know if Lillard is the greatest Blazer of all time, how deep his playoff runs were, and whether or not this incredible scoring will continue. But for now, just sit back and enjoy Dame time. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for NBA videos every Thursday and Sunday. And let me know in the comments below what you think of Dame's and the Blazers' chances of making the playoffs.